Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with another episode of Total Breakdown. This one was sent in by WakaWaka3000 leading the Warriors of Chaos against DerGeissler's Argwylon. The Warriors of Chaos come in with Prince Sigvald in charge, alongside a Chaos Sorcerer of Fire, a unit of Chaos Marauders with great weapons, 3 units of Aspiring Champions, 3 units of Chaos Warriors, 2 ranked up to rank 2, 1 ranked up to rank 1, 2 units of Forsaken, a unit of Chosen with Halberds, a unit of Chaos Knights, and a unit of Chaos Warhounds with Poison. Argwylon comes in with a bluff build led by a Glade Lord, a Spellsinger of Life, 3 units of Eternal Guard, 3 units of Eternal Guard with shields, 2 units of Wildwood Rangers, a unit of Glade Guard, another unit of Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts, 2 units of Hawk Riders, and a Forest Dragon. Alright, as always, we're going to start with a conversation about layout, and it's pretty interesting from the Warriors of Chaos over here. We've got the front line of the Chaos Warriors, armored and shielded as they are. Right behind them, we have the Chaos Marauders with great weapons. The Forsaken take over either flank, and then in the center we've got the Aspiring Champions, Sigvald himself, and at the back we've got the Chosen with Halberds. Now first quickly want to talk about this situation here. The Chaos Warriors, shielded as they are, will take the brunt of missile fire that comes in and actually protect the Chaos Marauders who don't have shields. So great move, they're having these silver shields up at the front to take in and soak up as much of that ranged fire as possible. Meanwhile, the Aspiring Champions back here, they are there to bolster the center, of course, dive in as necessary to help with the infantry fight that comes in, and the Forsaken, what with their speed, can be used as flanking units. Meanwhile, back here, of course, in case anything large comes in from the rear or from the sides, these Chosen with Halberds will be there with their anti-large just to help out. And off to the side here, let's talk about these guys now. We've got the Chaos Warhounds with Poison and the Chaos Knights, and of course the Sorcerer himself, using the wrong brush there. And these guys able to come in from the flanks as well once an engagement begins. However, a little bit of a mistake here, deploying off to the side here with these obstructions in the way that can break the formation, as it's going to happen pretty soon actually. So a bit of a mistake there. This entire clump, which is a pretty good arrangement, should have been taken over here, allowing the formation to stay in shape as they move forward. Now, Argwylon, or the Wood Elves as it actually seems to be, have a very simple layout. They've got their Eternal Guard up at the front, they've got their range units at the rear, and then we've got our Wildwood Rangers on either side, able to respond to whatever might come in because they are anti-large, so it will help any incoming large units. Forest Dragon and the Glade Lord off to the side here, Hawk Riders with them as well to come in from the rear, provide some, ranged fire and some flanking maneuvers if necessary. Now you'll notice right off the bat we've got an Arrow of Kronos going in to hit Prince Sigvald. Does a little bit of damage there, but honestly, not the best target. Sigvald has his armor that allows him to replenish armor, or replenish health, sorry, so even though a little bit of damage was done, which is great, he's able to recover it before front lines meet. And yes, this reduces how much health he can regenerate later on down the line, but again, not the ideal target. Now you'll notice as the formation is being moved around, you'll see it is being clumped up and it's being sent around and about and separating, and that is the issue when you're not wary with the with obstacles on the battlefield. So again, just would have been great to deploy off to the distance here. And you'll notice really quickly this Forest Dragon is being targeted by a fireball, and something hilarious happens here. So the fireball goes flying through the air, and it misses the Forest Dragon, but goes on to hit the Glade Lord. So I find that absolutely hilarious. But back to our more tactical conversation here. We've got a decent clump of units. We've got the Hawk Riders, the Forest Dragon, and the Glade Lord. There's some pretty solid units, and the way this formation is breaking apart as a result of these obstacles, it would have been very easy to send this clump of units in melee, not even using ranged combat, but in melee into some of these, Forsaken and the Chaos Warriors off to the distance here, or maybe even diving into some of these Forsaken or into this entire clump here. A lot of melee charges here, sort of here, or here from all of these units would have done a lot of damage that would help significantly as the melee begins. So those would be some interesting moves if Argwylon had decided to do that. Instead, they decide to dive into the Chaos Knights. Well, not all together. The Forest Dragon goes in first, causes a little bit of damage. These guys are able to retreat. The Hawk Riders open fire. Glade Lord giving chase as well, but not a lot of damage is done because the Chaos Knights, of course, are able to disengage quickly. So that's why focusing down on some of these clumped bumped up infantry units may have been the right call there. Now you'll notice the Glade Lord and the Forest Dragon take to the air almost right away, and the Hawk Riders decide that the best target would actually be Prince Sigvald, and that's, again, in my opinion, not the best call, because all of that HP, more or less, will replenish by the time the melee actually happens. Now, really quickly, while this is going on, Argwylon and all of its elves are actually retreating into the corner. And yes, corner camping is a very common occurrence with units or with armies that have range capabilities and they just want to block off. However, it is risky because when you're close to the corner, and they're getting really close to the edge here, if your units start to break, they will leave almost instantaneously. And that's especially bad for ranged units, because even when a ranged unit is broken, shattered, or not shattered rather, when it's broken, but it has a decent amount of models left in it, they're still able to cause damage if they can return to the battle. But being this close to the edge, when they leave permanently. So I understand why a lot of people like to corner camp, but that is very dangerous. Anyways, back to the situation over here. Again, Hawk Riders firing at Prince Sigvald, and these guys, the Glade Lord and the Forest Dragon, clumping in on the Chaos Sorcerer of Fire. Good call there, because you want to get rid of Kindle Flame, which is increasing the weakness to fire damage across the battlefield for everybody, and you also want to make sure that magic, that supporting magic, is taken care of nice and early. So the Glade Lord and the Forest Dragon trying to shut him down, scare him off the battlefield, and the Chaos Warhounds with poison and the Chaos Knights having none of that. They're being sent in to, again, slow down and also cause a little bit of damage and just try and hold these guys at bay. You'll notice also the Forsaken for a moment there were being sent down to try and help, what with their damage dealing capability, just a little bit of indecision there, sending them down, deciding not to, and then sending them down again. Ultimately, sending them down was the right call, I would say, because the Forsaken are damage dealers. They do have Frenzy, so it's a good idea to get them in here and try to take care of this nice and early. Now, over here, you'll notice we do have the Flaming Sword of Ruin go down. Well, a couple of things happening here. So the Flaming Sword of Ruin goes down, which gives a lot of these guys extra weapon damage. The missile damage obviously doesn't apply here, and applies fire damage to everybody. So these Chaos Warhounds are actually quite capable right now. Poison slowing down the Glade Lord on its way out, causing magical damage and fire damage. And let's not forget, Kindle Flame is active, causing an extra weakness to fire for all of these units. Meanwhile, over here, we've got the Flaming Sword of Ruin, as well as the Cascading Fire Cloak, so that increases armor piercing damage and melee defense. So great cast there. Excellent move, making sure that these units that are, middling at best, are able to cause a significant amount of damage in this engagement. Now, you'll notice the Forsaken come in as well, so the Chaos Warhounds, what with their poison, are able to keep the Glade Lord on the ground, slowing him down, and meanwhile the Forsaken trying to do the same to the Forest Dragon. Up at the front now, the Hawk Riders still trying to gun down Prince Sigvald, and everybody else is charging up the field, wanting to engage as quickly as possible. Now, back down here again, this time the Glade Lord drops the Prey of Anathrema, slowing down the Chaos Knights, making sure they're not able to give chase. Not the best call. In fact, dropping that on the Chaos Warhounds would have been better, because this poison continues to haunt the Glade Lord, chases him around, slowing him down, making sure he can't take off, and doing a fair amount of morale damage as well, but with the surrounds and whatnot. So the Forsaken trying to come in as well, trying to get that full surround in. The Forest Dragon trying to help out as best as possible, dives in there, but the Glade Lord is very close to giving up. So great play back here. Good attempt there with the Prey of Anathrema, keeping these Chaos Knights at bay, but that would have been much better served cast on these Chaos Warhounds with poison, because that poison is what kept the Glade Lord on the ground, unable to get away, and taking a significant amount of damage, actually. Now, the front finally begins to meet, and you'll see here we've got some shots opening up. Decent targeting. Unfortunately, the formation has broken, so the shielded units are no longer up front. So you'll notice that the range fire is hitting these Chaos Marauders quite easily, and these Forsaken as well, taking some shots from those Starfire shafts. So unfortunately, that initial concept, keeping the shields up front, has all fallen apart, because I'm guessing there was a lot of micromanagement going on back there, so this formation wasn't maintained as well as necessary. So that's too bad. It was a good thought, but it's all sort of gone sideways here. Meanwhile, back here, you'll see the Forest Dragon, an extremely high-value unit. I cannot express how high-value that Forest Dragon is now routing. And that's that. the Chaos Knights, the Warhounds with poison, and the Chaos Sorcerer with fire, alongside the Forsaken, all just clump in there, and they take care of that Forest Dragon, eliminating him from the battlefield nice and early. And now you'll see the front lines do begin to engage, and I would say that the Eternal Guard, with and without shields, whichever they might be, should have countercharged. We've got one countercharge going on there. These guys did not countercharge, and these guys don't countercharge either, so you'll see a lot of charge bonus damage coming in that could have been negated and countered even. Now the range units quickly changed their target. They're now firing up the Chosen with halberds. Good call there, just getting some shots off, try to take care of them before the Hawk Riders and well, the Forest Dragon is now shattered. So before the Hawk Riders and the Glade Lord come down to engage. Also, seemingly trying to get a surround going on over here. Good move, trying to engage these Chosen before they're able to do anything too risky or too dangerous, and getting these Eternal Guard, good move pulling them all the way up here, but now's the time to push them down right away. You want to get that surround, I've mentioned it many times, but getting that surround is extremely helpful, so it seems like the thought was there, but the execution was not complete. Meanwhile, we've got another Arrow of Kronos coming in from the Glade Lord, trying to hit Prince Sigvald, but just barely getting a little bit of damage in there. Again, in my opinion, not the best target. Meanwhile, over here we do have Earthblood go down. Unfortunately, it's not able to reach too many units, just gets this one unit of Eternal Guard with shields, trying to keep them alive and healthy and well. Decent use there. I would have reserved it for the Glade Lord as he comes flying in, but of course, Argwylon is trying to keep the center intact. Now, this engagement between the Eternal Guard and Prince Sigvald is far from ideal, while this engagement between the Eternal Guard and the Chosen with halberds is ideal. So, a little bit of mismanagement there. This Sigvald engagement should have been retargeted, rearranged, try to avoid that situation, and meanwhile the Hawk Riders are coming in for some rear charges, and that is a great move. A lot of people shy away from using Hawk Riders in melee, but they do have a decent weapon strength, and they do have armor piercing capabilities, so especially when you're matched up against an armored enemy, don't be worried about bringing them in with some rear charges, and you'll see they do a decent amount of damage, some morale damage as well, so good move there, getting them in there. It would have been great to just continue cycle charging, pulling them out and back in repeatedly, get some damage done, and you'll notice the Chaos Knights, the Warhounds, etc., while they served well back there and they shattered the Forest Dragon before it could do much damage, unfortunately, they're now delayed from joining in this engagement, and so you see the flanks start to falter. The Forsaken over here, they are routing. The Chosen over here, they're very close to routing themselves. A lot of this ranged fire coming in as well, well targeted. They're not obstructed, so they're able to get a lot of damage and ultimately rout these Chosen. Now, at this point, it would have been a good idea to retarget and start firing on these Chaos Knights. You will notice, though, these Wildwood Rangers are going up to meet the threat. They are anti-large, so again, they would do well, but of course the Chaos Knights do retreat. So good attention there, paying attention to make sure that that engagement does not happen. The Forsaken, meanwhile, are being sent in to chase after these Wildwood Rangers, so good movement overall. Meanwhile, over here, you'll notice another spell does go down, and we had the Flaming Sword of Ruin there, making sure that the amount of damage output being done was tremendous. So we just missed that by a couple of seconds there. Meanwhile, back here, you'll see the Glade Lord is trying to take care of Prince Sigvald. Could have been better used, again, just trying to get in from the rear of some of these Chaos Warriors who are very close to giving up. A rear charge or two would have actually devastated those units and possibly sent them running. Meanwhile, we do have a bombardment spell used quite effectively because these guys were not retreating, so not the best use of Winds of Magic in my opinion, but it does do a little bit of damage. Considering that the Aspiring Champions and the Chaos Warriors were coming in anyway, that could have been saved for something else. You'll notice the Glade Lord also sends in a Arrow of Kronos, another one just to cause some more damage to Prince Sigvald. However, he is able to hold his own. He is still replenishing his hit points. Now, at this point, the Chaos Warhounds are trying to go in and engage from the flanks, take out some of these units that might otherwise return into the fray. So, good move there, and over here you'll notice the Chaos Knights get a rear charge into these Eternal Guard. Spears only work from the front, so that's a great move, getting them in there and almost instantaneously pulling them away, not letting them get stuck in for too long, so good move there, making sure that they're able to cause damage, but get out before they take too much hurt themselves. And at this point, you'll notice across the board, Argwylon realizes it is no longer the time to fight, it is the time to surrender. They throw up their white flags, and it is a close victory for the Warriors of Chaos. Now, in my opinion, this battle was very interesting because it consisted of two very distinct victories for the Warriors of Chaos. The first engagement, which involved the Glade Lord and the Forest Dragon, was initially a good idea for Argwylon, poking and prodding, trying to cause some initial damage. However, the Warriors of Chaos used poison, magic and fire to great effect to shatter a very high value target and keep some essential units occupied for the first half of that main engagement. All in all, if Argwylon knew when to back away from a lost cause, the Forest Dragon may have made a massive difference to the battle as a whole, possibly turning it into a victory for Argwylon. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content, and keep sending in your battle replays. I've mentioned it many times before, I think this is the best way to learn, watching other generals command and learning from their mistakes and from their well-played battles. It's always nice to see great battles from the community as well, so I just want to say, once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.